go could ride at the hills. We're here with a pretty mad crew. We're going out in this 41-degree heat with the R-Block crew.
There's a crash, there's a big fall in the middle of the field.
The tactical game has started. This is a classic move.
Great attack here.
Out of the saddle. She's closing in.
The acceleration could not be matched.
The race is on for stage honours.
And they've opened up the sprint.
This could set them alight. She will collect the leader's jersey if she can hold on.
Absolutely sensational.
It's the day everybody has been waiting for. Stage 3, Wollonga Hill. Who will be crowned for the first time the Queen of Wollonga, and can anybody dethrone the King, Richie Port? Be safe, be seen. We're looking forward to seeing who gets to the top of the hill first. Hello and welcome to the Santos Festival of Cycling. Matthew Keenan with you, joined by 12-time stage winner at the Santos Tour Down Under, Robbie McEwen, and dual Olympic Games gold medalist, Anna Mears. Anna, this is the best of Adelaide, the best of South Australia. We see the ocean and we see the hills, and we get it all in one.
That's right, and very exciting today for the women. The first time they will be set up Wollonga Hills. Very excited to see some of the fireworks that could come. Lucy Kennedy and riders like Ruby Roseman Gannon will have to have their best legs on to keep up with Sarah Gigante.
Well, we saw fireworks yesterday, Robbie, and it was Sarah Gigante. What a performance. How do the women bounce back and try and challenge her on Wollonga Hill?
I think they've been asking themselves that question all night and all morning. How do we bounce back against Sarah Gigante? It was such a dominant performance yesterday. She went from the front. There was no surprise attack. She just motored away from them. I think they all realise if they get to the bottom of Wollonga Hill in a bunch with Sarah Gigante, they're again racing for second place. She looks that good.
Well, let's remind ourselves of how dominant she was on stage 2 yesterday. Bike exchange at stage 2, Birdwood to Lobethal. It was a day where the early breakaway tried to get away, the longest stage at 97.3 kilometres. And it was good to see Anna, the Rock Salt team, so active, with Bree Wilson the first to really establish a lead.
Great move here by Bree Wilson. It was her teammate Peter Mullins wearing the leader's jersey, and she was later joined by Chelsea Holmes from Giant Pro Racing Team. The two of them would combine to go over the much anticipated gravel section. Great for Bree Wilson and her confidence to get over this before the peloton hit that gravel section as well. They were later joined by Team Garmin Australian rider Ashley Ann Kudinoff, who we saw in action in the Adelaide Track League. And ultimately, the three of them would be caught by the peloton, where we saw Sarah Gigante make her move.
And Gigante, she went on Hawthorn Hill. She leapt out of the peloton. It was Anya Lowe who went across with her to the remnants of the break. She wasn't able to follow. Gigante powered on. It was Holmes and Wilson. They were pick up the pace along with Gigante. Over the top was maximum points at the Shimano Queen of the Mountain for Gigante. And see this? Let's work together. Let's swap turns. It wasn't enough. The other two couldn't hold the wheel of Gigante. She just kept the pressure on. She rode away, the gap opened straight up. She's the Australian time trial champion. It was into time trial mode, and she went further and further away, all the way to the finish.
And it was the familiar Sarah smile as she went across the finish line with what was a Gigante performance, winning the stage by more than 1 minute and 50 seconds. It was 1:54, in fact, to Georgia Baker, who led home the peloton, followed by the former race leader Peter Mullins in third position. It was then Matilda Reynolds, fourth for the second day running, and Edmondson ran out the top 5, followed by Ruby Rose Van Gannon, Pate, Luxford, Manley, Stannard. Robbie, in terms of the overall standings, the lead now for Sarah Gigante is 1 minute and 53 seconds over Peter Mullins, and she simply looks to be the strongest.
Yeah, the race is for second, and that's for the leader's jersey. In terms of all the other jerseys, the podium presentation looked like a Sarah Gigante merry-go-round. She came around and around, collected every single jersey. She is so dominating in this race, but it is going to be a very interesting battle to see who joins her on the podium. And, you know, it's cycling. You never know what's going to happen. She looks like a lock, but it's not over yet. She realises that she's going to race as hard as ever.
And it's hot. It's 30 degrees already. Maximum forecast is 37 degrees. Not a lot of wind to speak of. I'm sure they'd enjoy the opportunity to duck down to the beach. They'll get a close look at it. Let's take a look at the course and see their journey from McLaren Vale. Be safe, be seen. Stage 3, it starts in McLaren Vale, makes its way eventually back through McLaren Vale and up Wollonga Hill. But before that, Anna, they get a chance to take a look at the enticing ocean on a 30-plus degree day.
Yes, they'll get a little bit of a cooler temperature as they head towards Aldinga Beach after going through McLaren Vale on their first lap, and then back through the zip track sprint at Snapper Point and back through McLaren Vale, Robbie, before they head up Wollonga for the first time.
Yep, bottom of the climb, and then it is 3 kilometres, an average of 7.5%. It's going to be something like 8.5 minutes of pure pain to see who is crowned the first Queen of Wollonga Hill.
And one of the things that Sarah said yesterday after the stage, that hurt, that was fun. She equates hurting on a climb to fun. McLaren Vale, what a beautiful place it is. The cube that we can see there in the distance, more on that a little bit later on. This is a gorgeous part of the world. Let's now get down to the race leader in the blue jersey, Sarah Gigante.
Okay, Sarah, big day after what was a big day yesterday. Did that hurt at all? Do you feel fresh this morning?
Yeah, it definitely did hurt, but I'm feeling okay today. We have an awesome Swanee liner, so I got a pretty nice post-race massage yesterday, and I'm just excited for today. We have a great team, and I know it will be a super hard stage, and the other teams won't want us to have it all our own way, that's for sure, but I'm excited.
Everyone was laughing and being very jovial just moments ago. Everyone seems pretty happy and content with the way things are.
Yeah, we're a great squad. I think we've really got on well, so it's a good mix of trackies and roadies, but yeah, we're all having a great time.
Now, I have a question from Anna Mears directly. She wants to know how many kilometres you were able to do during the Melbourne lockdown. Obviously, challenging time for everyone, but you did still quite a few Ks, didn't you?
I think I only rode outside maybe 7 times in the 14 weeks, but I looked at my stats for last year. I don't know exactly for the lockdown, but for last year I did 13,000 kilometres outside and 14,000 kilometres on Zwift. So I think most of that was probably during lockdown, although I feel like the whole year I just spent on Zwift. So it's good to be back outside racing.
That is extraordinary, though. How do you stay motivated, you know, in an indoor environment? You're just staring at a wall, you're trying to read a book, or you're listening to music. How do you keep going?
Well, normally I just listen to music, but in lockdown it was certainly harder mentally. So sometimes I had my phone, laptop with a movie for the longer ergos, and then I had Zwift as well, and yeah, it was pretty crazy, but I had a countdown app on my phone counting down to Road National, so that was what I was training for that whole lockdown, and yeah, the summer cycling's here, and that training seemed to have worked pretty well, so thanks to my coach as well, Dylan Lindsay, for getting me through.
Fantastic. What about today, though? So this is the big one. Short stage, but you know, very much a sting in the tail at the end. We know how well you're climbing, and a lot of the competitors are saying that they don't even think they can keep with you on that final climb. You know, you must be very confident.
Not too confident. I'm a bit nervous today, and I haven't been nervous the other days, so maybe that just means I care a lot about this stage. This was the one I looked at before the race. I was like, ooh, stage 3, so exciting. So yeah, I'm just pumped.
Well, we saw yesterday you were definitely in a hurry to get to today.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if it came any faster, but I did tell my teammates on my own team, Tipico Silicon Valley Bank, I told them I know you're staying up late to watch 2 a.m. for some of them, like in Germany. Tanya stayed up till 2 a.m. So I said I'll try and go quickly so that you can go to sleep faster.
Oh, well done, and good luck to you and the entire team today.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic day. It's going to be a hot one.
The smiling Sarah Gigante, her teammates here signing on. This is Georgia Baker, who was impressive yesterday, finishing in second position. The white jersey, the Focus Best Young Rider, this is Neve Bradbury, but Robbie, as you mentioned before, she's got that on loan from Sarah.
She does. Sarah has all the jerseys, and very considerate of Sarah Gigante to her Tibco teammates, who obviously can't race here, the US registered team, but they're spread across the world. She said, I'll try and finish a bit earlier, a bit faster, so you can get to bed on time, staying up to watch her celebrate that victory yesterday, wearing the blue leaders jersey.
And Anna, what were your thoughts when you heard Sarah talking about being nervous?
I thought that was really good, and it really does showcase the fact, like she said, it's important to her. She does care about this. The first time the women will go up Wollonga Hill, it's an exciting day and a mark in history, really.
Yeah, and she's taking nothing for granted, which is good. It's a good thing to have that nerves, that anticipation. If you're overly confident and think it's going to be easy, it's going to hurt a whole lot more. As we're on the final countdown to the start of this Wollonga stage.
2, 1.
Gun goes to get them underway. The other classifications, the Shimano Queen of the Mountains classification, it's Sarah Gigante who leads on 14 points. Kirsty Deakin is in second place on 5 points. 5 points as we see the D'Arenberg Cube, Robbie.
They leave the cube behind them. And I'm sure a few of the riders would have just nipped in to have a good look around inside D'Arenberg Cube. It's an extremely unique building. Cost years and millions to develop.
It did. The concept came from the legendary winemaker Chester Osborne, and the idea of it was they were inspired by the complexities and puzzles of winemaking. So that rubrics cube style of that building was where that was inspired from. 5 levels, everything from wine tasting, food digestation, art. I've been there. Even the bathrooms are very entertaining, I have to say. There's nothing in that building that is boring to see. Great place to visit.
And there'll be nothing boring to see on today's stage as they head towards Wollonga. Short stage, it is 48.8 kilometres. So the Shimano Queen of the Mountains, that jersey on loan, being worn by Kirsty Deakin, but she's some 9 points behind Sarah Gigante. The blue jersey for the Zip Track Sprint classification, it's Ruby Roseman Gannon who has that jersey on loan. But in fact, Sarah and Ruby are locked together on 6 points. It's Sarah who leads on a count back because she was the winner of yesterday's stage. And then we have the Focus Best Young Rider classification. It's Sarah's teammate, Neve Bradbury, who wears that on loan.
Well, we could see that deadlock between Ruby and Sarah broken today. There's one Zip Track intermediate sprint at Snapper Point on the big, long, flat lap around McLaren Vale, so I'm sure we'll see Ruby having a go at that sprint to try and even just roll across, get any points at all to break that deadlock and put herself in that jersey going into the final stage tomorrow around Victoria Park.
Two of the experienced members of the peloton at the front. For Bike Exchange, it was Sarah Roy up at the front. For Team Garmin Australia, it was probably their most important rider today as having road experience, Loretta Hansen. She rides for the Trek Segafredo team, and she will be crucial to just keeping Sarah calm early on.
Matt and Anna, I think if anybody else other than Sarah Gigante is going to win this stage, they need to get in a break. They need to open this race up, put the Garmin Australia national team with all those track riders under pressure to try and lead Sarah Gigante, open up, and they probably would need a minute and a half, 2 minutes gap at the bottom.
On the topic of track riders, former Olympic Games gold medalist from the Velodrome, Scott McGrory, at the back of the cube, giving us his thoughts on the stage.
Well, the most prestigious stage to win in any of the Tour Down Unders or the Festival of Cycling as we have this year is the stage to Wollonga Hill. That's where we're at today. Everybody wants to try and win at the top. Can only be one winner though, of course, and for the women, everyone is saying it's going to be Sarah Gigante. She has been the best climber in the peloton, that's for sure. Although the question is, she put in such a massive effort on stage 2 to ride solo for so long. Has that taken anything out of her legs? most people don't think so. They still think that she is the favourite. They do start from the D'Arenberg Winery. As you can see, the cube in the background, built about 3 or 4 years ago. Absolutely fantastic place to start a bike race from. And while the riders take off towards Wollonga and try and keep with Sarah Gigante up the climb, I might just hang out here for a little bit and just taste some of the goods that are on offer here at D'Arenberg. Looking forward to both the race and to see the flavours that we have behind me.
Which one, Anna, do you think he's looking forward to the most?
Look, this region is probably most well known for its Shiraz wine. About 50% of the grapes crushed there go towards the production of Shiraz wine. And this year's vintage, I'm told, is, looking excellent. Robbie, I know that you're a bit of an expert when it comes to the wines, and I'm told that they've required minimal watering thus far, which means better flavour for the grapes.
It'll be a unique vintage this year. It's been one of the coolest summers on record in Adelaide and the surrounding regions, and then this week the heat really kicking up. The ripening will be starting to happen a little bit quicker now, and be looking forward to the harvest in a couple of months' time.
And the riders at the front of the race, they're looking forward to the flag coming in. That's Kimberly Conti, who has done a great job in designing this course. And look at the way the riders, particularly from Team Garmin Australia, the teammates of Sarah Gigante, they're creeping forward. They want to start.
Yeah, look for them to be very busy protecting Sarah Gigante today. Like we said, they've got a lot of firepower in that team, not only to keep the pace high to try and nullify breakaways, but also bring breakaways back to ensure that Sarah Gigante can protect not just the leader's jersey, but every jersey that she has on her shoulders. And in that interview, I found it very interesting. I wanted to know how many kilometres she did on the ergo during lockdown. About 14 weeks, she did 14,000 kilometres, and last year she did a total 27,000 Ks on the bike. I've had my car for 7 years, and I've got 38,000 clocked on it. 7 years, 38,000. She did 27,000 K on a bike in 1 year.
Yeah, Robbie, they're heading down Main Road towards Wollonga, one of the most famous towns in the history of the Tour Down Under. And Sarah's going to get there with plenty of preparation in her legs after that 27,000 kilometres that she did last year.
Yeah, it won't be for lack of hard work if she doesn't win this stage. But it's not a one-horse race. There are other riders who've got big aspirations for this climb today. Think of the more pure climbers like Lucy Kennedy from the Bike Exchange team. And I just looked up the current Strava record holder for the women on Wollonga Hill, and just 12 days ago she set that record. Carly Taylor from the Rock Salt team, teammate of Peter Mullins. And Peter Mullins has talked a lot about Carly Taylor coming out of retirement after 4 years, but she has not just been inactive in that time. She's continued to ride. She works for Zwift. She does a lot of events on that online platform. And so she set a time of 9 minutes and 23 seconds on the climb. That compares to the all-time record set by one Richie Port. Heard of him?
Heard of him.
6 minutes 34.
I'm looking forward to seeing how Carly Taylor performs today. There's one of her teammates, number 15 on the left-hand side of the screen. That's Nicola McDonald. I think we'll see Carly Taylor well looked after as they head towards the bottom of the climb. Kilometre 0, the flag is in. The stage is underway. Who goes first? Loretta Hansen is at the front, policing the head of the peloton. And ARA on the right-hand side of the screen, they're trying to get in the thick of the action. So too Velo Fit with the fluoro yellow and the red colours at the front.
And we saw that little acceleration by the Velo Fit team, but straight away, ARA, and I think it was Agnello, just straight away into the wheel, marking things. My thought is that ARA really want to get Ruby Roseman Gannon to that intermediate sprint to snap a point and take some points and try and put herself firmly in the lead of that zip track sprint competition.
And it's pretty early in the piece. It comes after 22.8 kilometres, so controlling the race early will be important for ARA, and we're seeing quite a few of those riders at the head of the peloton. Let's get the thoughts of the race director on stage 3, Kimberly Conti, giving us an insight into what to expect.
Stage 3, the classic Wollonga climb. So everyone knows, of course, that's Richie Port's territory for the women. This will be their first opportunity to see who will be Queen of the Mountain this time. And again, this stage wanders through some of the most beautiful wineries of the McLaren Vale, past the beautiful ocean views that we see and where we know so much about from prior Tour Down Under races. For those of us that are watching the race, of course, so nice to see, whether you're here or overseas. Of course, for the riders, their primary focus is going to be that climb and who gets up first.
And who gets in the breakaway first? The Step Forward IT Suzuki team trying to go on the attack, and pretty quickly stamped on by Sarah Roy from Bike Exchange. She's the rider in third position. She's been really active even in the neutral zone, staying up towards the front.
Yes, well, her interests today will be looking after their pure climber in Lucy Kennedy, one of the favourites for today's stage, as we see another attack coming from one of the Velo Fit riders, and again marked by the team of ARA, looking after Ruby Roseman Gannon, who, as Robbie said, will be looking at those Zip Track intermediate sprint points at Snapper Point. But
that was Alexandra Martin Wallace. You can see that real track style as she chased that break attempt.
Georgia Baker it is now who is at the front, the second place finisher from yesterday's stage. And for Georgia Baker, Annette Edmondson, Ashley Ann Kudinoff, this is a stage for them to play really key support roles for the race leader, and they're doing it early. They're much older than Sarah Gigante, but they're showing their class and their professionalism, and they're playing the role they need to play.
And they need to do it on this big flat opening lap, because realistically once we get onto Wollonga Hill, their job is done. The track riders, we won't see much more of them. But I think Sarah Gigante can also rely on having another teammate with her. It's not one of the track riders, that's Neve Bradbury.
Yes, and she's a fantastic climber. She's slightly built. She's very similar in stature to Sarah Gigante. Being short is an advantage when it comes to the mountains.
Yeah, she is certainly a lightweight. She is very, very lightly built, but that's perfect for going uphill fast.
Sydney Uni Staminade now on the attack. They have a prospect for today's stage. Nicole Frayne has been very good on the climbs so far throughout the Santos Festival of Cycling, and I think the Tasmanian Nicole Frayne will enjoy Wollonga Hill, because as we know, Tasmania's got plenty of climbs to get some practice in on.
And perhaps what might play in her favour is so much talk and so much attention on the other climbers like Lucy Kennedy, Sarah Gigante, as we see again attacks coming thick and fast now. The peloton just not prepared to let anyone go at this point. We do normally see some pretty strong crosswinds through this long straight stretch of road. Today temperatures very high and the wind 0 kilometres an hour.
That's my kind of win, unless I can get it directly in the back on the way home. This is Rock Salt again going on the attack. You spoke about Carly Taylor earlier on. She is on the Rock Salt team. I think they are looking to make the stage hard to weaken everybody before they get to the bottom of the climb, in the hope that it can be Carly Taylor that finishes things off. It's Nicola McDonald once again from the Rock Salt team there in second position, who's been active.
Look to be a number of teams just content to keep everything shut down, and they're aiming to, for one, like ARA, get to the intermediate sprint at Snapper Point all together, but just keep the bunch together until the bottom of the climb, and then it'll be a battle royale.
If that happens, Robbie, whose hands does that play into the best?
I think it certainly plays into Sarah Gigante's hand and her team. If there are other teams interested in doing the same, they're essentially doing a lot of the work on behalf of the Garmin Australian national team. They'll be quite happy with that.
You can see two of those jerseys with the green and gold bands around them, riding up towards the front. Looks like it might be Maeve Pluth right in the centre of the road. Another one of the strong track cyclists. They're riding brilliantly, that team, and they do have good direction with Donna Ray-Zielinski. And as we heard from Maeve after the stage yesterday, we had to keep Sarah on the reins, but they let her off the hook on stage 2.
You can just see at the bottom of your screen as we see another attack here coming from rider number 16, Courtney Sherwell. Again, Rock Salt on the attack, really wanting to take it to this peloton to hurt the legs, and the response comes from ARA.
ARA responding as they have done right throughout the race. And that looks like it's Holly Lupke for the first time, getting a chance to see the young mountain biker up towards the front. We've spoken about her a little bit. She's finding her legs within the peloton, and it's a very different skill being able to drift sideways on the dirt versus having people around you and rubbing shoulders.
Most definitely. You see here the grit and the green from Courtney Sherwell, hoping that they just let her go. She has a small gap to a chase group. another small gap back to the main peloton. Is this the move that finally gets away?
Be interesting to see what the tactics are for the ARA team, and Scott McGrory, before the stage got underway, caught up with their team leader, Ruby Roseman-Gannon.
Ruby, you've been a standout in terms of the sprint stages, but this is the big hilltop finish. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's not probably my ideal course, but I've been climbing pretty well and I'm feeling quite confident on this climb, so I'm just going to give it my best shot and see what happens.
I say stand out in the sprints, but yeah, you've been climbing very well. We saw that in December in the last of the National Road Series events. You were very good uphill. Sarah Gigante is the one you're going to try and stay with, though. What do you think she's going to be able to do today?
Yeah, I think Sarah's on another level, and I think she really showed that yesterday, and I'm pretty impressed. Like, she's my club mate, so as much as I would have liked to win, like, it's pretty cool to see her doing something like that and really showing the other teams. She sent me a message last night. She said, watch out, we're on equal points for the sprint competition. So I'm wearing the jersey, but she's actually on equal points and in the jersey. So yeah, I think we might have a bit of a battle out there in the sprints.
A bit of one to look forward to. How good is it, though, for two of the younger riders that are coming through to be so dominant?
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I think we've definitely leveled up in NRS and we're really pushing it. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm really excited.
It's a big day, so good luck.
Thank you very much.
The first of the zip track sprints, that comes after 22.8 kilometres, and as we got the indication there from Ruby Roseman-Gannon, it will be active to get there and get the maximum points. She'll need them, because if she wins the intermediate sprint, and she gets 3 points, and Sarah wins at the top of Wollonga, she'll get more points, and they'll be locked together again at the end of the day, and it will come down to the criterium around Victoria Park tomorrow.
Yeah, although we call it the zip track sprint competition, it's like the green jersey in the Tour de France, it's the points competition. There are points on offer at the finish, even though it's a mountaintop finish. A little bit unfair for the sprinters, really, in a competition they think should be weighted towards them. You can still score points on the uphill finish. Not done yet.
What I noticed in that interview there from Ruby Roseman-Gannon was a real confidence in how she was feeling today, as opposed to Sarah Gigante. A little bit of nerves, not so sure how she was going to go today. So interesting, different preparations there for the two, very familiar with each other.
Robbie, you know this road pretty well. They've made the right-hand turn onto Aldinga Road heading down towards the coast.
Yeah, always a pretty fast stretch, because it's hard to tell on TV. When they come down McLaren Flat Road and up to the township of Wollonga, it's a real drag up to that point. You turn right and it's a pretty fast section. It's a bit more than fast, false flat downhill for a kilometre or two. Very, very open. They'll be quite happy there's no wind. We've seen in previous years in the Tour Down Under that it can often be put in the gutter and splits happening in the crosswind. So pretty straightforward for them down this stretch. And this course really is a series of long, straight stretches. Nothing really too technical, really open roads. And even if you get yourself off the front, you need to be at least a couple of minutes up the road to be out of sight.
The ARA colours at the front of the peloton controlling things. You can see quite a few of those magenta jerseys up towards the front of the race. The teammates of Ruby. Number 13 down towards the back. That is one of the riders who we know is really strong on the climbs, but she struggles with some of the technical aspects. That's Brie Wilson. For the Roxalt team, if they can keep Brie just comfortable in the peloton and get to the bottom of the climb, she'll be really handy for Carly Taylor, because Brie Wilson is super strong.
She'll be handy in her own right.
Yeah.
It's more of a two-pronged attack, and I don't think one will have to sacrifice for the other. I think they'll both be able to see what they are capable of on the climb, and you know, it's open for them to both ride a good general classification.
Beautiful view looking down towards the coast. And nice road as well in terms of the fact that there's a good shoulder there to be able to ride on. Outside of racing conditions, for training purposes, that's what we always like to see as a cyclist. It makes things safer.
Well, plenty of room. And I always say to cyclists who are out just riding recreationally, it's always good to have that shoulder. And when you do have it, don't use the white line as your guide. Keep your handlebars inside that white line, and if you've got a great big shoulder section, use all of it, get right across. It's much easier to fix a puncture than damage done by a car that ends up coming too close, and make it easier for the vehicles to give you that 1.5 metre distance.
Agree. The advertiser, premier partner of the Santos Festival of Cycling, as they have been since the Tour Down Under got started back in 1999. They've had lots to write about across the last few days, and Anna, I can well imagine that they'll be writing about Sarah Gigante for a long, long time to come.
Yes, quite a remarkable young talent is Sarah Gigante, as we also get a beautiful view of some of the vineyards in McLaren Vale. There are about 100 wineries actually down in McLaren Vale, and one of my favourites, Wirra Wirra, is there, as well as Little Wolf Osteria, which is a great little restaurant, one of Australia's top restaurants at the Mitolo Winery. And as we head towards the beach, down towards Aldinga Beach, one of the best restaurants is also the Star of Greece. Highly recommended. It overlooks gorgeous Port Wollonga, and it features some pretty remarkable fresh seafood from the surrounding sea farms.
Well, if we're talking favourites, and I've said it before, Chapel Hill, one of my favourites, fantastic cellar door, the old chapel, and you go and do the tasting of the entire range up there. And one of the winemakers, Bryn, he's a really keen cyclist. I'm sure he'll love to tell you about his S-Works frame, and with his SRAM Axis E-Tap group set and zip wheels that he just put together for his 50th birthday, and he does lap after lap of the McLaren Vale, but also Chalk Hill Cellar, and they've got the Never Never Gin Distillery as well, so no matter what your poison, as they say, you can get down to the Chalk Hill Cellar door and go wine or the Never Never Gin.
So many options for adults, but also for families. There's the family-run Pizza Teca, where recipes have been passed down over the generations, but also the Wollonga Farmers Market, where there are so many things for big kids and little kids to enjoy as well.
Well, one of the big stars and one of the big favourites for today's stage is Lucy Kennedy from Bike Exchange. Here she is catching up with Scott McGrory.
Lucy, well, we're finally here, Wollonga Hill stage. You're pumped up and ready to go?
Yeah, this is the day of truth, I guess. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Interesting stage yesterday, the way it panned out, and Sarah's ride on a flatter terrain. Do you think that'll take something out of it today and bring it back a little bit?
I hope so. I mean, obviously, yeah, her time gap's she's not coming back, but so it's about the stage today. Hopefully it's taken a little bit of a sting out of the leg. It was a really impressive ride. We made some mistakes as well. Hopefully a bit of revenge today.
This has been for her in particular, the peak of her career. She didn't travel last year at all, so she's been locked down quite a bit. Whereas you've come off a European season, time in quarantine, you're still on the way up. How is it to race against riders like Sarah in their absolute best form, knowing that you've still got more to give? Yeah,
you have to remind yourself of the context. We're by no means peaking at the moment. This is the first race. There hasn't been any high-intensity training yet, so you have to remind yourself that. But at the same time, we're all really competitive people, and so it's not fun to get beaten.
No one's listening at the moment. Can you tell us the tactics of the team? What are you going to do today to get the better of Sarah?
I don't think there's really too much tactics to it. It's just whoever's better today is going to win.
Pretty simple. Good luck.
Thanks.
I think she might be right. Whoever's better will win. Lucy Kennedy is currently in 10th position overall, but she's really close to the podium. She's just 13 seconds away from third place overall, 17 seconds away from second place overall. There she is at number 3. She's right in the mix to challenge for second place, and she is one of the few riders in this peloton that can genuinely challenge Sarah Gigante to win the stage. This stretch of road, now that they're just rolling along, you mentioned, Anna, that there's not much wind at all. Sitting in the peloton would be relatively comfortable. Yeah,
you do get quite a saving of energy being in the peloton, sitting in the draft, and you really do just get this floating effect on your legs as you're pedaling through there. A lot of the work being done by the riders spread across the field. I can see the black helmet there of Team Garmin Australia rider Ashley Kudinoff. She'll be performing her role today, policing the front of that peloton in support of Sarah Gigante. And Sarah Gigante we can't see because she will be in that peloton floating along waiting for her moment to attack.
Yeah, you do float along. We do often say that sitting in the wheel, even in second position, is a saving of 30% energy compared to the rider hitting the wind. And the further you go back in that peloton, right in the belly of that peloton, it's even greater than that. And you're probably only putting out 40% of the power being put out by the rider on the front, and sometimes even less. So you get really a free ride. But it looks like in the peloton, it only took about 6 or 7 kilometres for everybody to get the message that ARA are determined to hold everything together to the intermediate sprint for the zip track points in Snapper Point. So that's why we're not seeing much attacking going on. Everybody's thinking like, after that, that's the time. Velofither, they've never stopped trying all tour. But I think it's just going to be sending the memo out again by ARA because it's one of their riders in second position.
Yeah, they have done exactly that. They've sent the message to everybody else. We are closing it down. We are protecting Ruby Roseman Gannon in the battle for the zip track blue jersey to lead the sprint classification. We always pay close attention to the weather conditions. It is warm. It's already 30 degrees, heading towards 37, 38 degrees. But the main factor at this point of the stage is that there is no wind. That takes a lot of stress out of it for some of the climbers who are trying to save energy in that position in the peloton in the middle.
Yes, ARA might have sent the message out to the peloton, but Velofit apparently missed the memo. They don't want to be told what to do. They're trying to keep this peloton moving. No wind definitely will play into the hands of the climbers. There we can see on screen Sarah Gigante, the resplendent leader's jersey of the Santos Festival of Cycling Women's Road Race. She's just flanked there by one of her teammates, just chatting to her, keeping her calm. Like they said on day one, keep that leash on until they get to the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, that was Loretta Hansen just riding next to her. And up the front, one of the individual riders, Dr. Alana Forster. We saw her acquit herself very well on day one. She's the rider on the left in the plain white jersey. And they are spread wide across the road. They've all understood what's going to happen over the next few kilometres as they approach the intermediate sprint.
Let's enjoy McLaren Vale and head down the rabbit hole, one of the newest cellar doors in McLaren Vale. It's not to be missed whilst visiting the region. There's also Angove McLaren Vale Vineyards and Cellar Door. 130 years owned and operated by the same family, established in the late 1800s by Dr. William Angove. Fully certified organic and biodynamic vines. Friendly atmosphere as well. Penny's Hill Cellar Door is another option to unwind with the unique surrounds and browse the Red Dot Gallery for consistently changing artworks. Maxwell Wines, that's surrounded by the picturesque vineyards and dates back to 1983. It's a great location with amazing food and wine on offer. Be Safe, Be Seen, Stage 3 of the Santos Festival of Cycling. There's been numerous attempts for riders to try and break away on this day that goes to the top of Wollonga Hill for the first time in the women's race. Who will be the queen of Wollonga? Short stage makes for dynamic racing, but they're heading towards the zip track intermediate sprint. That's after 22.8 kilometres covered. They're getting there quickly, and the team in the magenta colours, ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast, they're doing the perfect job to set this up for joint first place in that classification, Ruby Roseman Gannon. And the person that she leads with is none other than Sarah Gigante. and the friendly rivalry between the two of them that's been going on since they were 5 and 6 years of age continues, and Amirs, because last night Sarah sent Ruby a message: we're locked together in the battle for blue, let's go.
Look, she might be delightful and bubbly as we see her before she steps on the bike. Again, another attack from VeloFit. They just do not get the memo that ARA want this intermediate zip track sprint for their leader, Ruby Roseman Gannon. And that's a bit of gameplay, I think, from Sarah Gigante to send Ruby a message as we see footage now. Two riders coming together.
And rock salt as well. Robbie, the Western Australian team, managed by Matt Upton, VeloFit Australia, their attitude today has been exceptional.
Well, their attitude has been really aggressive, but I believe that ARA will just continue to shut things down unless Ruby Roseman Gannon is in a position in any little group, which would put some pressure on the rest of the race if she was to infiltrate a move.
Now, this is a good looking group that has gone off the front, but there's Rock Salt, ARA, Bike Exchange, Team Garmin Australia, all marking this move to try and slow it down. But that's Neve Bradbury at the back of the group in the white Focus Best Young Rider classification. Here comes Ruby Roseman Gannon. This is significant. She's the rider in blue. ARA, they like it.
And she's going straight to the front. In fact, that's a teammate of Ruby Roseman Gannon. It's not her herself, but ARA again.
Well, Ruby was in second.
She was in the wheel, yeah. She was in the wheel. So led by the teammate, everything back together. So the message being sent out yet again. I think particularly the most aggressive team, which has been the VeloFit team, which are trying again, would be better served to save their energy just for the moment, wait until we get through the sprint and then go on the attack. It has become glaringly obvious that ARA are not letting anybody go. They're riding for the points at the sprint. So sit back, be patient, understand the situation, and then use your energy. It'll be much more effective.
Curious, will we see Sarah Gigante perhaps take on Ruby Roseman Gannon at this sprint?
I think if you were to ask, you should say, normally not, but I'm so excited and I'm just pumped to be involved in the racing, and Ruby's a teammate. We've had a rivalry since we were 6, and yes, I like doing a little sprint against her.
Well, I think the best strategy for her to win that classification is for her not to sprint, but to have one of her teammates, Annette Edmondson, Georgia Baker, Ashley Ann Kudinoff, sprint and try and win it. If they win it and Ruby finishes in second position, then Ruby moves into the virtual lead, but Sarah wins the stage, and then she takes the lead by 1 point.
And then Ruby would have to go out after the sprints on tomorrow's stage, the criterium around Victoria Park. I wonder if Sarah Gigante really begrudges the victory in that competition to her clubmate, Ruby Roseman Gannon. We'll find out very soon. They're not so far away from that intermediate sprint at Snapper Point. ARA still doing what they need to do to keep it together. A few more spectators coming down to the roadside for a look, and they better get a hop on because the peloton is moving quickly.
The sunflowers are the quintessential image of the Tour de France, and this is the image of the Tour Down Under.
Well, Ruby Roseman Gannon will be looking for some of that spring in her step as her team ARA take control of this peloton leading into the first intermediate sprint for Zip Track. And you're right, Robbie, VeloFit probably would be better suited just to wait until that intermediate sprint. We saw one of the young South Australian Institute of Sport riders who normally we wouldn't see on scenes like this. Thanks to the Santos Festival of Cycling, we've got a great combination of World Tour riders, World Tour teams and NRS and youth as well. So great to see the support there extended to young riders in the South Australian Sports Institute.
And they have been active. They can take a lot out of this. This is a beautiful look, and we've seen some images throughout this event, particularly with the Chasing Cancellara on the Full Gas platform, where Fabian was riding online and he had this beach as his green screen backdrop.
It is such an iconic beach as we go by it. Is a warm day, and I'm sure that we will see what it is well known for, and that is many cars and many people on there with their tents and their picnics, having a lovely day.
Well, I was just having that thought. So you just mentioned, speaking of the cars, it's great you're able to go down. There's a shot, there's cars on the beach, but at certain times of year, on certain tides, you've got to make sure you get your car off the beach on time, or it is a very second-hand car.
Bit rusty. Rust in the legs of these women.
Then number 92 at the back, that is Pia Smith. Also down towards the back of the group, Courtney Sherwell from Rock Salt. She's been pretty active early on. She's just shuffled down towards the back along with her teammate Saffron Button. The Rock Salt team, they've got representation at the front, and perhaps they're using this moment to go to the back and collect a little bit more water for their two climbers, Bree Wilson and also Carly Taylor, who's making a return. Let's not forget that Peter Mullins is still sitting in second position in the overall standings.
Another attack coming here. This is the Sydney Women's Uni Steminade team. And Mark straight away. See the fluoro yellow bike. Fourth wheel, making sure she moves with it. Little gap opening up behind the peloton, but I'm sure we'll see another ARA rider bounce out, try and drag everyone along, bring it back together. They're still around 3 kilometres from the Zip Track Intermediate Sprint at Snapper Point.
They're making their way along the Esplanade, the famous Aldinga Beach.
Take the left-hand turn here, and then they'll go back to the right, keep tracking the beachfront.
They're just a few kilometres away. By my calculations, they are 5 kilometres from the intermediate sprint. The shot along the beach, I love the way you can have the beach and the hills so close together. There's a lot of glass at the front of that property, making the most of the view.
Oh, they'd get some beautiful sunsets along the waterline there, and I'm sure that water would be very enticing for the women to want to take a dip. We've seen some of the riders in the past tours of Down Under take a dip down at Victor Harbour on the conclusion of a hot day. Today we are expecting some hot temperatures, but they are just bystanders on the scenery today as they go past. Probably can smell a snag or two cooking on the barbecue down there. Some of those cars.
I much prefer the idea of a post-race dip in the ocean here than the Jim Courier dive into the Yarra River after winning the Australian Open. Leanne Kudinoff with the black helmet on. She's been good throughout the last couple of days, and make that the last few days because she was really good on Tuesday at the Superdrome.
One of the riders from ARA Sunshine Coast Pro Racing just tightening the shoes up in anticipation of a lead out that they're going to try and provide for Ruby Rose McGannon. Ruby Rose McGannon just in the second row there, staying in the slipstream, saving her energy. She just pops out the right of the midline of the road.
The other rider from ARA that we've spoken about quite a bit, Anya Lowe, we learnt more about her this morning at breakfast with one of the owners of the team, Matt Wilson, and you'd be impressed with her initiative. She's from Tasmania. She didn't have a spot on the team. She knew the team had an association with the Sunshine Coast University. So what did she do? She went enrolled in a course at Sunshine Coast University. She moved up to the Sunshine Coast and she went and knocked on their door and said, I'm here, I'm in the university, can I have a spot on the team?
Well, you wouldn't say no to that, would you?
Well, quick bit of testing, found out she had a heap of talent, said welcome. Handed over a jersey, said welcome to the team.
What size jersey would you like? And she has been so impressive this week. And as we said yesterday, Robbie, if it wasn't for Sarah Gigante, at her age, Anya would be one of the youngsters that we'd really be talking about.
2 kilometres to go to the Zip Track Intermediate Sprint, and interestingly you can see the riders blockading almost across that road are members from Bike Exchange, the National Garmin team and ARA.
There's Bike Exchange right in the centre of the picture. That's Jessica Allen, who's on the left-hand side of the road, the right of the frame as we look at it. Team Garmin Australia, will they take that strategy that I spoke about a moment ago of just trying to take the points away? What do you think, Anna?
Look, I think that's a great strategy, and they've got the cards to play. They really have, I feel, the strongest team out there. They've got a lot of speed in the track riders who have come across. We haven't seen a great deal of Anna Edmondson, Ashley Kudinoff we can see up the front. Maeve Plouffe also very strong. Georgia Baker we've seen in the sprints already. So it might be a really good card to play to consolidate not just the leader's jersey for Gigante, but the sprinter's jersey.
We approach the Zip Track Intermediate Sprint. We've seen the ARA Sunshine Coast Pro team mark every move, pull everything back, so it's become really obvious that they want the points for Ruby Roseman Gannon to have that blue jersey mid-screen, fluoro yellow bike. There she is. Now, they've done that successfully. They've held it all together. The plan now, tactically, has got to be to provide a good lead out for her, not just let it go to chance and leave her to her own devices. You see all the fluoro yellow bikes all around her, the teammates coming up, so they're starting to form the lead out. Bottom of screen, it's the red jerseys, yellow bikes, Ruby Roseman Gannon, of course, in the navy blue jersey. So tactically, so far, they've done everything right. They've held the bunch together, they've nullified attacks, they're now in front of Roseman Gannon to try and provide the lead out. So tactically, until this point, it's all going perfectly. As we come into the final kilometre, this is where they've got to nail it.
900 metres to go for the Zip Track Intermediate Sprint. Ruby Roseman Gannon is in third position. 2 riders in front of her from her team. 1 behind as well, which is really good.
So tactically, again, they're setting it up really, really well. They've got riders to lead out. Another one to create a gap by being in between. But look, just further back now, accelerating on the left, one of the riders from the Garmin national team.
And that's Maeve Plouffe, who when she's not with the national team, she rides for ARA. She's moving her way up alongside, trying to force her way into the wheel.
It's like she's trying to force her way in front of Ruby Roseman Gannon, but Roseman Gannon, she's not going to be moved out of the way.
Sarah Roy on the right-hand side. Ruby opens up. Sarah Roy is holding on to the wheel, but holding is all she can do because Ruby Roseman Gannon is opening up the gap. The youngsters have emerged in this race. 3 more points for Ruby Roseman Gannon. Perfection.
It was absolute perfection by Ruby Roseman Gannon and her team, ARA Pro Cycling. Now, start to watch for the counter-attacks. This is the perfect moment to go. Sarah Roy did the sprint, so she's not the one to go and place the attack. They're waiting for this now, the lull at the front. There's just a little pause to catch their breath. We're going to take another look at this, the lead out from the front, and they're opening up the sprint. Ruby Roseman Gannon, she gave them a good shot at her. She left it open on the inside and the outside, but she had over a length in front of Sarah Roy, and that is mission accomplished. So right from the start of the race, they've done exactly what they need to do every step of the way, and that's the reward. So perfect job by Ruby and her teammates. Here's the counter-attacks coming.
And it's coming from the South Australian Institute of Sport, a group of youngsters, Anna.
Yes. South Australian Institute of Sport is the platform for South Australian athletes. Very, very strong history in cycling in particular. Brett Aiken doing a lot of work there with the cycling program and working in conjunction particularly on the track with Tim Decker and the endurance programs.
Just seeing Ruby Roseman Gannon there on the race radio, and I'm sure saying to everybody, perfect job, thank you very much, that was excellent. More attacks coming now. This is really the moment after the sprint. They know that ARA, they've got the job done so far they wanted to do, and now there's the opportunity to try and get away. But there's a lot believing in the same thing. A lot of action at the front.
And the rider from Roxalt so far who's been quiet is Peter Mullins. She was in second position looking to try and sneak off the front. That is stunning. Dragging the easel out. Does that inspire you, Anna, to start painting?
Oh, I tell you what, I don't think I could do that scene justice. It truly is spectacular down there. Water, crystal blue. Talk about spectacular. I think we're going to see that crystal blue jersey of the Santos Festival of Cycling leader, Sarah Gigante, now moving up to the front. I think she's about to put on quite the show as we head towards back towards McLaren Vale and up Wollonga for the very first time for these women.
What we've become accustomed to while watching the Santos Tour Down Under is multiple laps around McLaren Vale and along the beach. They do it 3 times before tackling Wollonga twice. Now the anticipation is already really building because for the women it is just 1 lap of this circuit and then straight to the climb. Here we've got a yoga class happening on the stand-up paddle boards.
Well,
they make it look easy.
Look, we can ride a bike, but I would be well and truly in the water on this occasion.
What's a nice day for a swim at Port Wollonga?
Gorgeous.
On a day as hot as today, you wouldn't mind getting the wobbles and falling in. It's that hot out there. It's going to be approaching 40 degrees for the riders.
Annette Edmondson on the left of screen. In the centre is Loretta Hansen. Be safe, be seen, premier partner of the Santos Festival of Cycling. And
Bree Wilson
on the attack, rock salts.
She's gone from the back of the peloton to the front. She really was waiting for that intermediate sprint to conclude. And this will take some pressure off of teammates, Peter Mullins, Carly Taylor, riders that we anticipate are going to be active in the climb to come.
Neve Bradbury responding. The youngest rider of Team Garmin Australia, doing a huge amount of work. As we've seen the team pursuit us, heading towards the intermediate sprint. We're heading towards the climb, and it's now Neve Bradbury.
Well, the hard thing about forming a break and getting some leeway, building up a gap, is we've only got 23 kilometres to go. We're deep in the finale of this race. It only started half an hour ago. A very short, explosive stage. And these riders trying to see if they can open up a gap and start Wollonga Hill with a head start. It's interesting to see Neve Bradbury slot herself into the move.
Well, do you think that Sarah Gigante might share the chocolates here with Neve Bradbury? Is Neve someone that could potentially head up Wollonga herself as well?
Yes, she is. She sits in 6th position in the overall standing. She's at 2 minutes and 7 seconds behind Sarah Gigante, and she is one of the great young Australian climbing prospects. So, Anna, yes, she can.
Well, at the moment, Bree Wilson, she made the attack. She's still riding on the front, but the gap is being shut down from behind. Bradbury was content to just sit in 2nd position, took a couple looks back to see what was happening. Doesn't want to be seen to be on the attack and trying to ride her own teammate out of the jersey. So she's playing a good team role, Bradbury, as everything comes back together.
If you are hoping to win the stage today, with how active the reactions have been to all the attacks, what would you do now?
I think you have to sit tight. I think it's going to be really difficult to build up any decent advantage because we're just outside 20 kilometres to go. When you can't fault them for trying, riders who know they can't be competitive on Wollonga Hill if they wait, well, they've got to have a go. But the problem for them is there's a lot of domestiques in this peloton who their job is from now to the foot of the climb. That's effectively their finish line, to chase everything down and bring it back together. So I can't see anybody really getting a decent gap and getting to the bottom of Wollonga with a race-winning advantage.
Into the town of Aldinga, this is Grace Brown, who is now off the front. She was one of the pre-race favourites. This is a good move from the Bike Exchange to try and put Team Garmin Australia on the back foot. And the one team now that I think we'll see take a little bit of a backward step and not so active towards the front is ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast. They've got their prize at the intermediate sprint. Now they can relax and let Anya Lowe and Ruby Roseman Gannon just think about preparing for the climb of Wollonga Hill.
Yeah, and after that really hard-fought sprint there at Snapper Point for the Zip Track intermediate sprint, Ruby Roseman Gannon needs to try and let her legs recover as best as possible, sit within the peloton, not hit the wind. It's not an easy ask to do that because of all these counter-attacks and chasing that's coming. The pressure is quite on. This is Georgia Baker who's taken the wheel of Grace Brown.
She climbed well yesterday, didn't she, Anna?
She climbed very well, and whilst a lot of focus has been on this Be Safe, Be Seen Stage 3 from McLaren Vale to Wollonga, let's not forget that tomorrow is the Trek Stage 4 Victoria Park Crit Circuit, so it is crucial for Ruby Roseman Gannon to recover now ahead of that because she will want to consolidate that jersey she has just collected.
The race leader, Sarah Gigante, looks as if she's about to collect a water bottle from the side of the road. She was going to, and I think her teammate Loretta Hansen has said, "Don't worry, Sarah, it's all under control. I've got a bag full of them and I'm right behind you." Loretta Hansen is the rider that we spoke about at the start as the most experienced campaigner on that team on the road.
Yeah, well, she was the 2016 Zip Track Sprint Jersey winner for the Santos Tour Down Under. That year she was also the young rider winner. So she will have some great experience to offer Sarah Gigante, as we see to the right of screen, just handing over some water bottles and some food. We also see riders starting to feel the pinch of all the attacks at the back of this peloton.
Yeah, a few riders got themselves in trouble as that attack came from Bree Wilson. It stretched the peloton, then they came through that left-hand corner, and there's quite a quick little downhill, and then it through the dip and back up, and a few just found that elastic band snapping in front of them. and just riding their way back onto the back of the peloton. A couple still struggling to make that junction.
There are so many different ways that you can discover the Fleurieu Peninsula. You can get a local guide to take you out and you can explore some kayaking, surfing, abseiling and even quad biking. And as you can see by the reaction from the kids, there's lots of fun for them and there's plenty of fun for the adults to be had too. Be safe, be seen. Stage 3 of the Santos Festival of Cycling, destination Wollonga Hill. Who will be the queen? As it stands, it is Sarah Gigante who is at the top of the leaderboard wearing the blue jersey with a 1 minute and 53 second advantage over Peter Mullins. In third position is Ruby Roseman Gannon at 1:57. She has a big advantage in the battle for first, but it's really tight between second place and all the way down to 12th place, which is headed up by Carly Taylor of the Rock Salt team, making her return to racing. She retired here 4 years ago. This is a nice way to come back. She's in the hunt today as one of the outsiders to win the stage.
Well, she's in the hunt, and yes, she's an outsider compared to Sarah Gigante, but like I mentioned before, just 12 days ago, Carly Taylor set the new women's Strava record on Wollonga Hill. 7 minutes and 7.5 minutes.
Well, she's confident because she's got her teammate. This is Courtney Sherwell, who you can see at the front from the Rock Salt Liv Schramm team. She's really driving the tempo. I'm sorry,
9:23. I was looking at some other stats. They had this morning for the recreational cyclists. They had the Trek Wollonga Hill time trial and crowned our winners there. And it was a young junior cyclist. He was the fastest male. He was 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Fastest woman, 11.5. I think it was 11:11.
Let's get his details. We might be commentating about him pretty soon.
That's only just over a minute slower than Richie Port's fastest ever time.
That is extraordinary. That's quicker than a lot of the pros would have ridden up there. This move is putting the peloton under pressure. It's not doing damage yet, but it is putting them under pressure. Good to see the Giant team. The Liv colours, the Fleurieu at the front. They were active yesterday with Chelsea Holmes, spending a long time in the breakaway. Inside the last 20 kilometres, I'm really feeling the anticipation towards Wollonga. Imagine there'll be a lot of riders that when they get to the bottom, they'll be relieved that for them, they're sprinters and they can just go into tuning into race radio mode and hearing if one of their teammates is putting a big ride up the climb.
Well, not just the sprinters, but the domestiques. Like, have a look at how many of them have been covering all of these attacks. Some of them will still have a role to play going up Wollonga, looking after the legs of their climbers. So I anticipate to see riders like Grace Brown looking after Lucy Kennedy, and you know, some other riders as well, in particular Nicole Frayne from the Sydney University Staminate team. But yes, there will be a few relief people to hit the base of that climb, but most of the relief will come from whoever crosses that line first.
Yeah, the point that you also alluded to there, Anna, the riders that we've seen the least of are the riders who are the favourites to win the stage.
We just zoom in on the peloton here. We can see rider number 87. That is Jessica Lawler. She hails from the West Cycle Club in Perth. This is her debut in a National Road Series race, and she is riding in the very aggressive team of VeloFit.
They've done a fantastic job, and what a way to make a start. This is the biggest race, really, in the history of the National Road Series. The amount of support that they've had from the South Australian Government and the race organisation. And Matt Wilson, who we had breakfast with this morning from the ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast team, said, for the riders who are making their first appearance in the race, they've warned them not to get used to it. This has been pretty special treatment.
Well, what we can get used to potentially is the names of some of these riders and the performances going forward, because without this opportunity, perhaps they wouldn't have even believed in themselves, the capabilities they have, and the eyes of the world watching this coverage live streaming on 7 Plus for the Santos Festival of Cycling. They're looking for the next stars of their team. Perhaps Jessica Lawler will be one of them.
There is a big chance. Plenty of colours from Bike Exchange now at the front. They're all having a bite to eat. You need to get the food into the system now to be digested and ready to go in the legs once you hit the climb.
And it wouldn't be solid food anymore at the moment with just 17 kilometres to go. It's more like gels. Things that go straight into the system require little to no digestion. They just soak straight in. It's more like those gels, just 17 kilometres. Don't even have time to digest something. You eat a bar or a cake or something like that. So
you don't want the energy of the body to focus on the stomach to digest the food. You want the energy of the body to focus on the legs pumping, as we see Bike Exchange starting to move forward on the left-hand side of this peloton. They have spread out again across the road momentarily. A little bit of a lull as a result of some of these attacks that haven't got away yet.
I can't imagine there's going to be a breakaway that manages to stick, surely. ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast to try, and so too South Australian Institute of Sport, but the odds of them getting enough of a gap before the bottom of the climb is pretty slim with how close they are to the start of Wollonga Hill.
This is a really strong move getting off the front. You can see the ARO rider. It sort of looked like an attack, but the way she was looking across, you could tell it was a reaction. This is a really strong attack.
This looks like Katarina Chungor from the South Australian Sports Institute of team. We'll get confirmation on that, but she is joined by that very familiar sight of the fluorescent yellow bike in the maroon ARA jersey. Still very busy, all things considered, that Ruby Rosamond Gowan has already secured those intermediate zip track sprint points for the jersey that she has on her shoulders today. She is the virtual leader of that category on the road.
And she's still in third position overall, so for her, Anna, it's a real challenge. She's had such a focus on the zip track sprint classification. She now needs to reset and focus on defending a spot on the podium in the top 3 overall.
Busy lady.
Very busy. She's got a lot on her mind. ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast is a team we've seen a lot of at the front today, and we're seeing more and more now of Bike Exchange, the team of Lucy Kennedy. She's a rider we heard from before the stage got underway, and the pressure today is on the shoulders of Lucy Kennedy.
Well, you heard, it's not fun when you get beaten, and we also heard from Sarah Gigante, it's fun to win. So everyone is out to make sure that fun is about the win.
I think for Sarah Gigante, it would have been pretty fun to look at her numbers of her power outputs, etc. yesterday. I've been handed those. Pretty impressive. The average power throughout the entire stage yesterday for Sarah was 236 watts, an average heart rate of 145 beats a minute. Maximum 181 beats a minute. She had a maximum speed of 74.3 kilometres an hour. But that section where she went off the front, that 50-kilometre breakaway that she did and she went solo, her average power throughout that time, 262 watts on the back half of that stage.
Average.
Robbie, I would love to know watts per kilo on that, because that's the key number.
What do you think she weighs in at, approximately? I mean, doesn't have to be exact, but I'd say she'd be lucky to be...
She wouldn't be 50
kilos.
Ring and wet, she'd be 50.
She would. She's short, she's lean, and as we know, she's powerful.
Let's call it 48 kilos.
Yep.
5.45 watts per kilo.
Wow. That is exceptional. There are the normalised power of 260. There's the heart rate data, 181. A max speed of almost 75 kilometres per hour. That's a lot of calories that were burned.
1,849 calories. That is pretty much all the calories that Sarah would need in a day where she wasn't doing any exercise whatsoever. She's burnt that many calories in the space of 3 hours.
Remarkable. Truly remarkable.
That's an entire day's eating in one stage.
Better go and do a stage. Number 12, that is Carly Taylor from the Rock Salt team. Now, she has been a rider that we've spoken about a bit, but we haven't seen her. We've gone on the hunt with the helicopter to find her. She's been quiet, Anna, and that is a really good sign.
She has been quiet, but she has been out on these roads, as we know. Just 12 days ago, she set the Strava record up Wollonga Hill. And keep an eye out for some action from her momentarily. Peter Mullins did speak about.
And just behind her, number 44, that is Nicole Frame, the Tasmanian from Sydney Uni Staminade, and she is also one to look for. Velo Fit once again going on the attack. We've got the race director, Kimberly Conti, once again on Zoom. Kimberly, we can't wait to get to the bottom of Wollonga. This is exciting.
It is really exciting. We're way ahead of pace this morning, so the women have really turned on the heat this morning. That sprint through Samper Point was really, really fast. Great. Good to see Ruby, Sarah, and Nicole taking the points out there. But of course, as we know, on everyone's mind is who's going to get up that climb first.
Who do you think gets up the climb first?
I had a good chat to Carly yesterday. I just heard you mentioning her Strava record, and she is really motivated. So would not be surprised to see her go.
Perfect conditions by the looks of it from here.
Absolutely beautiful. No wind to speak of. 32 degrees, so couldn't ask for anything nicer.
We've been really impressed with the Velo Fit team from WA. They haven't troubled the results sheet, but their attitude has been fantastic, and they're on the attack yet again.
They are. They were really committed to getting here. You know, for some of these teams with the restrictions with quarantine and having to quarantine once they go home after this race or after nationals, to them, they were just so committed to getting here and to racing. I think after such a long drought for them, I've been really, really impressed with the level of professionalism from them.
For you personally, how much have you been looking forward to this stage?
It's been really exciting. It's been in the works for a while. So to actually see this come today and to be able to watch, again, best thing a race director is you just lay out the canvas and then you wait to see what the riders do with it and with the course. So been really looking forward to this and to seeing what happens once we get there. But, you know, Sarah, she still might go, so don't count her out.
They're painting a pretty good picture on the canvas that you have laid down. Congratulations on the course. We look forward to seeing you later on this evening on Talking Tour. Enjoy the rest of the race.
Thank you so much.
I like the description, Anna, of just laying down the canvas and then it's up to the riders.
Yeah, well, hats off to race director Kimberly Conti. Really, she is living history, sending the women up Wollonga Hill for the first time as a part of this Santos Festival of Cycling. And I think it will be a cornerstone piece of the women's race going forward.
I certainly hope so, and I know the women are really excited to have this stage to be able to take on. And although it's only a really short stage at 48 kilometres, I think it's absolutely perfect for this one with such a hard finish. I don't think there's any need to do two of these long laps for them before they tackle Wollonga Hill. I think short, sharp, explosive, and we're going to get the result that it deserves. It's going to be great to watch them battle it out on Wollonga.
9 kilometres now from the base of the climb, and all of a sudden we've gone from talking about ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast controlling the race for the Zip Track Intermediate Sprint. It's now Rock Salt on the front. They've taken over control for Carly Taylor, and let's not underestimate Peter Mullins. She's underestimated herself. Last night she called sprinters lazy, but don't dwell on that too much. She's in with us with a chance to hold on to her spot in second position overall.
Yes, well, after her sprint win on stage 1, she told us on Talking to her last night she doesn't do much sprint training, and she just thought like she'd do a bit of a lazy sprint there. Mr. Lazy 12 stage win for you through the Tour Down Under, Robbie, and a lazy 2 Olympic goals for me. I suppose I'm used to only doing 200 metres. Yes, Rock Salt very, very busy, and now starting to switch into gear for Carly Taylor. We've seen VeloFit Australia very active already in this stage, and one rider on that team that might be a bit of a dark horse as we turn right and we see 12 kilometres to go until the conclusion of this race. I'm going to throw it out there, Victoria Barry.
This is Alana Forster now who is attacking. She's looking to get a head start before they hit the base of the climb. I like it.
This is an attack that looks more like one of the intermediate sprints. That is a massive acceleration from Forster. Try and get away from the bunch, open that gap. And certainly she's done it well enough that the others have looked and said, oh, that's not one I can jump with straight away, and she has opened it up.
That's a proper gap that she has created.
The problem now will be she's done that really full-on sprint to open up the gap. She's going to be paying for that. The legs are going to be screaming. Now it's about holding that gap open, trying to recover from that big effort she just made, and then consolidate.
She's churning a big gear, which indicates that she's somewhere in the low 40s in terms of her speed, probably 42, 43 kilometres per hour. One of two individual riders in the race, but she keeps reminding us about the support that she's had from Butterfields Racing. I bet Butterfields, as a sponsor, would like to put one of the jerseys on her shoulder.
Yeah, she's certainly been active in this tour so far. It seems no response from the peloton. Alana Forster riding as an individual and perhaps looking for individual glory here on the Be Safe, Be Seen Stage 3.
And what's good for her, she's now enjoying a little bit of a tailwind. See the flags on the side, so she rides through McLaren Vale. The road starts to drag up now through town. That little bit of a tailwind helps her just keep that rhythm after that huge attack. And the fact now that the motorbike is behind her, our camera moto, shows that she has a decent gap between herself and the peloton. There it is from the air. You can see her right at the top of picture, and the peloton still just spread across the road. So this is a really handy gap, but the problem for her is she'll get to the top of town, she'll swing around to the right, down McLaren Flat Road, and you can see for miles. You need about a 6-minute gap to be out of sight. She's never going to get out of sight, but the other thing is there's a lot of domestiques still waiting to do their job, to tow their leaders into the foot of the climb. It feels like such a long way down that road, and you'll be able to line her up and just drag her back in. But it is a very good attempt.
She's a pretty good time trialist, not a great time trialist, but a pretty good time trialist. And she's only been racing for 2 years, and for the first time, she's bought herself a time trial bike, and she's looking forward to going to the National Championships actually on a purpose-built bike as opposed to a road bike.
And you can see just here at bottom of frame, her two biddens. They're actually two different colours. Clear biddens, we've got water in the back, we've got some colour there in the front, obviously some hydrolights. Hot weather conditions out there today greeting the women as they come through McLaren Vale heading towards Wollonga.
It might only be a short stage at 48 kilometres, but certainly you've got to tip in the electrolytes. Make sure you're completely fueled up, and you'll see it. Then a lot of the women, they get to the bottom of Wollonga, and any extra will be going overboard. You often see riders they'll keep one on board, but they'll be squirting water out of it to just keep the absolute minimum. They might just have a sip halfway up, and that will be it.
How important is it psychologically to get rid of that little bit of extra weight?
Oh, well, psychologically, very important, because in reality, it is a big difference. If you have a full water bottle at 600 millilitres, or you just convert that straight into grams, it's over half a kilo you can throw off.
And you have to work pretty hard physically to lose half a kilo off your frame. That's a lot of donuts that you have to skip throughout your coffee break.
Speaking of the frame, Robbie, what sort of weight are these bikes? There's a limit on how light they can be.
Yeah, the UCI limit is 6.8 kilos. They're not allowed to be lighter than that. So a lot of these bikes will be right on that limit, some just above. You'd be hard-pressed to find one above 7 kilograms.
Well, one of the stories about the bike weight was with Neve Bradbury at the National Championships 2 years ago. She won the Under-19 National Championship ahead of Francesca Sewell. She went across the finish line, celebrated. Mum and Dad were there, her sister and her brother were there as well, and then they had to go for the bike weigh-in, and her bike was under 6.8 kilograms, so she got disqualified after the race. And her dad, who has an enormous amount of cycling experience, was absolutely devastated. Hayden was more upset than what Neve was, because he was the one getting the bike organised, but she's so short, her bike's so small, just wasn't heavy enough. They needed to put extra weight onto it.
That's the thing. She rides such a tiny little bike. It's not as if they were trying to skimp and get rid of things to make it that light. They just built the bike stock standard as it was, but it's so small, and they physically would have had to add weights, and I've seen riders have to do that before. Even 2 years ago, Troy Herfoss in the men's race, he got his bike weighed pre-start, and they said it's too light. You're 100 grams under. he actually went and stuffed muesli bars into his bar ends. He took the caps off and filled it up to make his bike heavy enough.
Red number 25, the most combative yesterday, the blue jersey as the overall race leader. She started the day in the lead of the Zip Track points classification. She leads the Shimano Queen of the Mountains classification, and she is the best young rider. Sarah Gigante, though, she is being stalked by the experienced Carly Taylor, number 12.
Yes, I just saw the saddlecloth there of Carly Taylor. She knows that Sarah Gigante is the rider to watch as we head towards this climb of Wollonga for the first time for the ladies. Alana Forster is out in front, and I noticed she just went past one of the great restaurants called the Salopian Inn.
Number 26, that's Neve Bradbury, who we were just telling the story about from those junior titles. 52 in the magenta colours of ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast is Anya Lowe. Another one we've spoken about quite a bit and is climbing well. In front of Anya is the blue jersey of Ruby Roseman Gannon. Is Ruby, even though she's in third position, potentially returning the favour to the climber on the team?
And jerseys I can't see from Bike Exchange. Where is Lucy Kennedy?
Lucy Kennedy is somebody that we've spoken about quite a bit over the last 12 months about making progress on ability to ride within the peloton. She is improving, but it's hard to learn that when you take up the sport a little bit later. And we can see, there she is, number 3, and she's got number 4, Jessica Allen, going back and looking for her. Followed then by Alexandra Manley, and they are protecting Lucy Kennedy, trying to get her to the front of the peloton for the start of Wollonga Hill.
Now, we do know for Lucy Kennedy, it's not her specialty in the peloton and fighting for position, so she really needs her teammates to come and get her, lead her up towards the front. They do have plenty of time. It's a straight run in, and through McLaren Flat Road, it goes downhill for quite a while, about 3 kilometres, then it dips up into the township of Wollonga. It's actually quite a strong drag, so it'll be easy for her to move back up when she needs to. Still got plenty of time. This is Alana Forster, our race leader, and she is grinding out a really good rhythm on her own.
4 kilometres for Alana Forster before she hits the base of Wollonga Hill. Oz Cycling, major partner of the Santos Festival of Cycling, and have played a big role in putting so much of the racing on. Let's ride together. There's mountain bike, track cycling, road racing, and even BMX.
And even cyclocross. Today, if you head down to the Adelaide Parklands, thanks to all the disciplines now under one banner, you can participate in any of them. Today, the Adelaide Parklands hosts the cyclocross, which is put on by Port Adelaide Cycling Club. It's a really exciting discipline, very popular, originated in the fields of France and Belgium, down sand hills, up the snow climbs. It's really exciting. Cross between track, road, mountain bike, would you say?
It's a bit of cross between a criterium and mountain biking, and in Europe it's a winter sport. It's what the cyclists used to do in winter because it was too icy to ride on the roads, and they started riding in the fields. And in Flemish they don't say cyclocross, they say veldrijden, field riding, and is often just through an absolute quagmire of mud. Today, quite the opposite. It'll be a 40-degree cyclocross on the outskirts of Adelaide CBD, but get out there and have a look. It's a fantastic discipline.
It's the original off-road racing before mountain bikes were even invented.
Take a bell.
On the main road, destination Wollonga, 20 seconds at the advantage for Alana Forster.
I'm sure the cyclocross races this afternoon will be hoping for beer hand-ups around the course. It's that thirsty sort of weather. Alana Forster, she's now hit that section that starts to drag up towards Wollonga town at the bottom of the actual climb. This is where it gets heavy, a 20-second gap back to the peloton. But they will be starting to increase their speed. The domestiques doing their duties, starting to position their lead riders, and that'll be eating into the lead of Alana Forster.
Be safe, be seen. At the very least, we've seen a lot of Alana Forster. Big breakaway on stage 1 where she was awarded the most combative prize, and she's in with a chance to get that red number again today.
She's the only one who's managed to get a decent gap, and even a gap that's been worthy of having the signboard on the timing moto write something on it and show us that she got out to 20 seconds lead. So it's a really handy effort. 5 kilometres to the KOM. That means she's just 2 kilometres from the bottom of the climb.
And she is in to Wollonga with 5 kilometres remaining.
ones. Like, don't tell me I'm not climbing yet. My legs can feel I am.
Peloton not too stressed yet, hasn't quite responded to this move. The individual rider, Dr. Alana Forster.
The peloton has calmed down. They're now setting themselves and they are bracing for the climb. You can see the national colours, Team Garmin Australia towards the front. The teammates of the race leader, Sarah Gigante. 17.5 seconds is the advantage through the 5 kilometre marker for Alana Forster. And once again, ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast with plenty at the front. And so too, Specialised Women's Racing right in the centre marker of the road, going forward in big numbers.
Yeah, you can see that dark green jersey just splitting the peloton in two. Starting to see some more movement around from the left-hand side of screen. That's the riders of Team Rock Salt. Also the national Team Garmin team there. The green and gold stripes across the chest looks like Annette Edmondson potentially up the front there. And the blue jersey of Ruby Roseman Gannon, the zip track leader.
Right behind race leader.
And number 12 then, that is Carly Taylor, followed by second placer overall Peter Mullins, number 11, the winner of the first stage. Number 27, moving up alongside the blue jersey, that's Loretta Hanson, who we've spoken about quite a bit. Stay calm, Sarah, just a couple of Ks to go. And then, as Maeve said yesterday, we'll let you off the leash.
Would you, if you were in this race, Robbie, attack Sarah Gigante or just try and hold her wheel?
I think the best scenario would be just try to hold the wheel, maybe even wait till she tries to make her first really big acceleration. Don't make the jump with her, but stick to your own tempo you know you can hold, and then hope you can close that gap back down. We know Sarah is a really aggressive type of rider when she gets on the hills, and that first acceleration is often really violent, and it could really blow riders up if they try to follow that straight away and mark her. So maybe just let a few lengths go and try to tempo the way back across.
You can see some of the big players coming to the fore now. Lucy Kennedy finally moving up to the front as we see Grace Brown with the number 1 saddlecloth for Team Bike Exchange heading to the front. All the climbers starting to jostle for position.
And now Sarah Roy has gone in front of Grace Brown. Sarah Roy is a sprinter, so she won't be able to contend with this climb quite as well. So she will keep Grace Brown out of the wind for that little bit longer. Then Grace will be the next one to set the tempo in the hope that they can set up the stage victory for Lucy Kennedy.
And this is where they'll be really taking back. And there it is. They've already taken her back, Alana Forster. So that injection of pace as they set up their climbers, it just ate the gap away of Forster. There she is on the right of picture. It was a good attempt, but she didn't get to the start of the climb.
She knew she didn't have the legs for the climb, so she wanted to have an impact on the race.
Impact she has, not just today's stage, but the entire race this week.
And you can see the fluoro colours of the Giant team, the Liv colours, and that is the rider we saw in the breakaway yesterday. Chelsea Holmes, she's acquitting herself well at the front. Here's the race leader, the smiling assassin, Sarah Gigante.
Now, they're not officially on the climb yet, but you can already see they are most definitely climbing. Riders already starting to get gapped in the background, and the road is about to kick up the steep section at the beginning of the climb. It will really split the race to pieces, and there's only some 14 riders left at the front before the gaps are forming.
Well, Sarah Gigante, she's used up one of her riders, Annette Edmondson. That was who swung out and has now done her job, one of the track sprinters. She still has, it seems, Loretta Hanson on her wheel, so she does still have team support. Grace Brown also doing her job on the front for Team Bike Exchange.
And for Sarah Roy, she's not a teammate at the moment of Grace Brown, but she was previously on the Holden Women's Racing team, so she'll have some real comfort in following a familiar rider. 3 kilometres to the top.
And this is where it kicks up. This is the real start of the climb. You see the infrastructure there from this morning's Trek Wollonga time trial. Sarah Gigante, that is the sign. She sees the road go up and her morale goes up. She loves to climb, she loves to hurt, and here comes the pain.
Laura Luxford is trying to go with her. It's now Nicole Frayne, the Tasmanian, who's looking to leap across, but they don't seem to have any of the answers to the questions being posed by Gigante. Kennedy is the next to try and close it down. Nicole Frayne, though, maybe she does have the answers.
Well, we said Gigante likes to make that really violent acceleration. Anybody who tries to follow that straight away, they often come into problems. It might be better just to ride a tempo and hope that Sarah Gigante has overextended herself early on the climb. But the gap is getting bigger at the moment. Frayne, she's hanging tough, but she's unable yet to get to the wheel.
And behind Frayne, riders from Team Bike Exchange, Lucy Kennedy, Grace Brown. Is it them riding the tempo that you were talking about, or is that gap just getting too big?
And you just saw the look across the shoulder from Nicole Frayne. That's a sign that she is resigning herself to the fact that Sarah Gigante is riding away.
Yeah, she seems to be now thinking about racing the people behind her rather than the one who's in front. And the one who's in front is going further and further away from her.
And she's barely been in the saddle. She now sits down to get that steady rhythm. It was a big acceleration.
Yeah, she's over that first really steep part. She's made the difference there. She checks over the shoulder to see what the damage is. Well, Sarah, the damage is Gigante.
It is Nicole Frayne in the pink colours. She's in with a chance to move herself into second position in the overall standings, and that would be a good performance and something to be proud of.
Well, at the moment, the gaps are just consolidating. Sarah Gigante, huge acceleration early. She's got on to where the climb, the gradient eases off somewhat, but she doesn't ease off. In and out of the saddle, just riding at a tempo she thinks she can hold all the way to the top. She looks up ahead, see what's coming. There's a left bend, then a right, and a real kicker. That's where we've always seen Richie Port go on the attack with Sarah Gigante. She said she wanted to tackle Richie Port's Strava time, so she started full effort right from the bottom.
This might be that little lull in Wollonga Hill Climb that Richie Port was talking about. Sarah Gigante working really nicely here out of the saddle. She's not just after the overall leader's jersey. She's not just after the stage win. I think she's even after the Strava segment.
This is Lucy Kennedy. She wears number 3 and she is in third position on the road. She's hunting Nicole Frayne. In terms of the overall standings, Nicole Frayne is in 4th position, 10 seconds behind second place. And Lucy Kennedy, she is in 10th position overall, 17 seconds behind second place. So those two are in a battle for the minor placings on the podium behind the star of the show, Super Sarah Gigante.
Lucy Kennedy said before this stage, I hope yesterday hurt her legs. It does not look like her legs are hurting at all. In fact, she's putting the hurt on the rest of the field.
Well, Sarah Gigante, she's in that area where Richie Port so often attacks in the Tour Down Under. He's been the king of Wollonga, coming up to the steepest part of the middle section of the climb, so she's consolidated her rhythm. The gap continues to open up. It really is a battle to see who else is going to join her on the final podium.
The body language is exactly the same as what we saw yesterday. Once she got off the front on her own, it was the picture of concentration, and she never looked like she was going to slow down. Oh, my eyes are hurting, my legs are even sore as she's still riding the big chain ring. And Lucy Kennedy, full credit to her. It's early in the season in terms of her preparation. She slowly but surely clawed her way back to Nicole Frayne.
We've done, she's done what we've been talking about, to just ride your own tempo right from the start, a solid time trial style effort without the big acceleration, especially for Lucy, as she said, early in the season, not ready for those explosive efforts yet, just try and grind it out, but now she's got to try and keep that tempo. She's ridden to the wheel of Frayne, she's got to go straight past and just keep that tempo, see if she can ride away. Now, this is the corner where Richie Port always goes. Pretty late compared to Sarah Gigante. She went as soon as the climb kicked up.
Lift your game, Richie. We can see that Sarah is still in the big chain ring, but the two chasers, Nicole Frayne and Lucy Kennedy, they're on the small chain ring. The gear ratio depends on where they are at the back of the bike as well, but they are visibly going slower than Sarah.
Well, Kennedy, she's ridden across the gap to catch Frayne, but now not gone past. Oh, she's paused and she decides she needs to attack over the top.
Yes, exactly. When Nicole was having a drink.
Yeah, but that is the right thing to do for her at the moment. She realises Sarah Gigante at 1 kilometre from the top of the climb. She is gone. The bird has flown, but Lucy Kennedy now concentrating on riding for second place.
And she is. She's opened up the gap to Nicole Frayne. There's a 10-second deficit between those two. Time bonus on the line as well. Lucy Kennedy is in with a position to move herself from 10th place overall up into 2nd position. There's the gap that she's managed to create over Nicole Frame. Is Nicole paying the price for trying to stick with Sarah early?
She is, as what we said at the start of the climb. Sarah Gigante will make that big acceleration. Anyone who tries to go with her will pay a big price. Frayne is, but she's still riding exceptionally well, and looks like she could be riding into 3rd overall to get herself onto the podium. But there's absolutely no doubt the favourite going in was Sarah Gigante, and she proved that right from the first metres of Wollonga.
She did tell her teammates over in Europe and the United States that she'd get the stage finished quickly so they could go to bed. It's an early night for them.
And her teammates told her she should go to sleep, so today came around quicker.
41 seconds the advantage for Sarah Gigante. She's not just winning this race, she's making an enormous statement, and the rest of the world will be watching.
It's a demonstration, and there'll be a lot of Europeans who'll be thinking, maybe we hope she can't get across to Europe to race this year, because we can't wait to see her take on the really big guns of women's professional
I don't
racing.
know if you just saw that, Robbie, but there was a fan on the side of the road videoing selfie style, and Sarah just rode into view and gave a little wave as she went by.
Well, yesterday after the stage, there was one of the guys on the Saturday morning bunch ride that she does from Peak Cycles in Heidelberg that was at the finish, and she was, before going to the presentation, off having a chat to him. And so all the guys that she rides with on a Saturday morning, it's a mainly male group, but Sarah and also Justine Barrow are pretty regulars on there, and she is the star of the show when she comes out on Saturday morning, I can assure you.
Well, not just on Saturday morning, she is now the star of the show. Santos Festival Cycling, Australian cycling, and she will be a force to be reckoned with as she goes global.
She is going global. They're watching in the United States. They're watching in Europe. Be safe, be seen. Well, trying to keep up with Sarah is not the safest of options, but be seen, she certainly has been. She's just about there.
The Shimano Queen of the Mountain, and she is crowned. She will win that competition. She will win on top of Wollonga Hill. She is the new Queen of Wollonga. She takes the left-hander to the finish.
Super Sarah, for the 2nd day in a row, stamps her authority on the Santos Festival of Cycling. The Queen of Wollonga has been crowned. Oh, she's found another old friend to give the thumbs up to. She knows how to have fun, and winning is fun for Sarah Gigante. Now the race for 2nd place. And not just the race for 2nd on the stage, but the race for 2nd overall, and it's Lucy Kennedy.
Well, Lucy Kennedy, she's ridden only just within herself. She's put herself on the limit, but right from the start she set her tempo. She ignored the big attacks, acceleration by Frayne, and she just rode her tempo as much as she could, and riding herself onto the podium. She is through the Queen of the Mountain point, almost at the top. A fine ride for Kennedy at the start of what will be a very long and tough season, and showing her class.
She makes the left-hand turn. She sees the finish line. 2nd on the stage for Lucy Kennedy, and 2nd place in the overall standings. A little wave of acknowledgement to the spectators that have made the effort to go out and watch. Classy by Lucy Kennedy.
Classy indeed, Lucy Kennedy. Team Bike Exchange, as we go back now to Nicole Frayne, who is 3rd on the road and looking to ride herself.
She's missed the turn.
Oh.
She has missed the turn because there was a vehicle that went through and one of the officials didn't go across quickly enough. That, in many respects, tells me that she was full gas and cross off. I actually don't mind that, but the closing behind pretty quickly, I'm glad she held on for 3rd. And Ruby Roseman Gannon in 4th, then Neve Bradbury just behind her.
And you know, I think maybe that wrong turn may have just cost her a podium position at the end of the race.
Yes, you could very well be right. She'll get a small time bonus. She'll get a 4-second time bonus, but the time that she needed to make up was 6 seconds, but there are time bonuses to come tomorrow. It will be tight for the podium. Here's the winner of the stage, the new Queen of Wollonga, Sarah Gigante.
Well, Sarah Gigante from Garmin Australia, the Queen of Wollonga Hill. You've made history.
Yeah, it's so cool that the women were able to race at Wollonga Hill for the first time. And oh my gosh, it might look like a one-person race at the end, but that was the best teamwork ever. I thought yesterday was next level, but that was just incredible. I had literal bodyguards around me all day. We knew that the other teams wouldn't give it to us easily, so yeah, I think everyone was trying to catch us out, but with such a strong team around me, yeah, it was just crazy. That was so lovely. And it's my first time working with these girls, a lot of them, apart from little Neve Bradbury, but yeah, those, especially like Loretta Hanson, literally guiding me through the bunch all day. She even took my bid in at the end. I felt a bit bad, but oh my gosh, and then Nettie Edmondson gave me this great pull. It was just such a great team effort.
Now, Scott McGrory, this morning you were talking to him and you said you were very nervous before the stage. We know that you've done a reconnaissance maybe a week ago. Where do those nerves go?
Well, I wouldn't say very nervous. The way I like to describe it is nerve-sided. So I think I wasn't really nervous before the others at all, but this one I cared so much about it. So I love getting that feeling of nerve-sided. And here's my mum. Yeah, I think she deserves to be on TV because she's a super mum. Thanks, Mum.
So it's unbelievable. So you've got obviously the leaders jersey, the Criterium tomorrow at Victoria Park. So it's got to be all yours, yeah?
Well, I mean, we won't count our chickens before they hatch, but I'm definitely, pretty honoured to be wearing this really cool jersey. I used to come here actually for the Santos Junior Tour back in, I was under 15, so I must have been 11 years old, so maybe 2012. I always came over again with my mum. We used to make the road trip, come down to the Barossa Valley and do the junior tour alongside this. So yeah, it's pretty crazy that I'm back here and leading the tour. And tomorrow we have such a strong squad. Like if I was the other teams, I'd be pretty nervous with all our tracky hitters.
Did you get any messages from your teammates from the US?
Oh, not today, but I'm sure they're watching. So, hi everyone at Team Tivco Silicon Valley Bank. Thanks for staying up till 2 a.m, Tanya. If you did stay up, hopefully our race was nice and exciting and kept you awake.
But this is a huge moment in Australian cycling. The Queen of Wollonga Hill, unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty cool. I'll have to check my time against Richie's once I upload to Strava.
Thank you, Sarah. Good luck with tomorrow.
Thanks so much.
And I just love that her mum, Kerry, was there, because her and her mum are such a great combination. And throughout the lockdown period, as Melburnians, we saw a lot of them on the social media doing lots of rides indoors. She spoke about the team support that she had. This is the dominant performance by Sarah Gigante. But for the teammates, it's a lot easier to be motivated to support someone who is so strong.
She makes it easy. They protected her on the flats. They put her in the right position coming to the foot of the climb. And then, as Maeve Plouffe said yesterday, we unleash her. And there she went. Flew up the hill.
It's some weapon to unleash.
It is, and I'm very excited to see what the comparison is between her time and the great Richie Porte. What I'm also very excited about is the potential clash we could see next year in the women's race between three-time victor Amanda Spratt and Sarah Gigante.
It would have been fantastic to see Amanda here, wouldn't it?
It would have been, and seeing this finish used for the first time in the women's event, I think it's going to be the first of many. It's been a great success. It'll be wonderful to see in the future all the international big guns coming and battling it out on Wollonga Hill.
A minute was the gap in the end between Sarah Gigante in second place, Lucy Kennedy. Then Nicole Frayne in third position, just 3 seconds in front of Ruby Roseman Gannon. So by my quick calculations, with the time bonuses, that will move her 1 second in front of Ruby in the race for third place in the overall standings. We'll wait for confirmation. Laura Luxford was next, and young Neve Bradbury, as Sarah Gigante called her, little Neve Bradbury, is climbing Neve Bradbury in sixth position. It was then a trackie. Alexandra Manley in seventh, followed by Carly Taylor. She can be proud of that performance on her return to racing in eighth place. Chelsea Holmes, she was good yesterday, good again today in ninth. And Amber Pate is a standout result for me in 10th position.
Yes, from the South Australian Sports Institute, one of the youngsters who gets to take the opportunity of COVID's change to this program. Great to see her make out top 10.
Let's get down to Lucy Kennedy, second on the stage, second overall.
Well, Lucy Kennedy from Bike Exchange finished second behind Sarah Gigante today. How was it today for the team and for yourself?
Really short, sharp stage today, and up until the hill it was fairly uneventful. There was quite a few attempts at little breaks, but never really thought too many of them would get away. So the team looked after me really well, and I basically hadn't seen a breath of wind until the bottom of the climb, so it was just game on from there.
When you saw Sarah moving the distance, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to have a race with her today, but when she went, I just couldn't respond to that, and had to try and diesel my way up, and just never saw her again. And she was the strongest rider today.
Do you think the stage was long enough for a good race, or did it need a little bit more?
I mean, it was still a good race. Being longer would have made it a different race, perhaps, particularly if there was another lap of the climb. Might have changed things up a bit, but it was still an exciting race, and the third day of a tour when some of us in particular haven't done any racing, it was okay. Yeah, unusual for us.
And just coming up Wollonga Hill, obviously Gigante is the queen of Wollonga Hill now. Do you like this stage? Would you like it in the NRS or in future at the Tour Down Under, the Santos Tour Down Under?
Yeah, I've been wanting to have the Wollonga Hill climb in the Tour Down Under for many years now, so it's exciting that we're in there, and hopefully now that it's made an appearance, it's there to stay. Okay,
for tomorrow, obviously a criterion, 1 hour plus a lap. How are you feeling in the team in 4 stages, and it's been hot as well?
Completely different to the rest of the tour, obviously, but we've got some fast girls in here. Obviously, we want to defend that second place on GC as well now, but a couple of our quicker girls, Sarah Roy and Alex Manley, I'm sure we'll try and get in the mix there for the finish.
And more importantly, there's a pretty good crowd here, and you're racing in front of fans. And there's been a horrible 2020 with COVID. How does it feel right now?
Oh, it's so nice to race at home. I mean, our team in particular, we were in Europe through all the carnage, and just to come here and race at home in front of our fans in, like a pretty normal environment is, it's just awesome.
Thanks, Lucy. Good luck tomorrow.
The pressure will be on them tomorrow to try and pick up a stage victory, but let's take a look back at some of the highlights from Be Safe, Be Seen Stage 3, which kicked off in McLaren Vale and made way through to the top of Wollonga. Anna, Robbie, it didn't take long for the attacks to get started.
They left the D'Arenberg Cube behind them, and it was a pretty aggressive start, but the signals were there that things were to stick together for the first part of the race, because ARA Sunshine Coast Pro Racing, they had a job to do for Ruby Roseman Gannon.
And here we see the job was executed to perfection. Ruby Roseman Gannon there in the Zip Track Sprint Leaders jersey. She really stepped away from all of the other rivals. Sarah Roy there from Bike Exchange taking second, Nicole Frame taking third points.
And importantly for Nicole Frame, that's a 1 second time bonus, and that could be the difference for her to be on the podium at the end of the race tomorrow. Then heading towards Wollonga, it was Lana Forster who went on the attack.
Yeah, and this was a huge sprint attack. She snapped the elastic to the peloton. She got herself out to over 20 seconds advantage as she rode through McLaren Vale and on the approach to Wollonga Hill. But as the teams lined themselves up and were bringing their leaders to the front position, and they started to eat into that gap of Alana Forster, it was going to be a big ask. And as they came towards the bottom of the hill, they made the turn in Wollonga. They had her back in the peloton, everything back together for the start of the climb, and the climb started and things exploded.
And then so too did the Gigante show. She made her move. Laura Luxford tried to respond to Nicole Frame, and we heard from Lucy Kennedy. She just couldn't do anything about it.
And nobody else could either. And just watching Sarah Gigante up on the pedals, it gave us shades of Richie Port's attack on Wollonga Hill in the past. This is going to be an iconic moment in Australian cycling. The women's peloton tackling Wollonga Hill for the first time, and a performance like this one, a solo from bottom to top. Sarah Gigante looking every part a world-class rider, even in this NRS race. We look forward to her taking on the best in the world in future. She crowned herself as the Queen of Wollonga. She'd opened up a huge gap to the field, a dominant display, and she will win this Santos Festival of Cycling.
And she knew the left-hand turn. She's been here as a junior. She's been here to watch the race today. She was centre stage. Back-to-back stage victories for Sarah Gigante, extending her advantage in the battle for the Santos blue jersey, and somehow trying to stay cool. The good news was that she had her mum Kerry there with her to celebrate at the finish. Those two, we see it so many of the bike races around the country. It was great that Kerry could be here for this big, big moment. Beautiful backdrop that was provided by the beaches of Adelaide today. The stage results, it was a 1-minute win in the end for Sarah Gigante ahead of Lucy Kennedy. And Nicole Frame finishing in third position on the stage. It was then Ruby Roseman Gannon, followed by Laura Luxford, Neve Bradbury in sixth, Alexandra Manley, Carly Taylor, Chelsea Holmes and Amber Pates. Let's now take a look and see what that has done to the general classification. We know that Sarah Gigante will have grown her advantage even more. It will now be out towards the 3-minute mark for Sarah Gigante in a race that traditionally has been decided by seconds. It's now minutes, and it is 3:11 the lead for Lucy Kennedy. Ruby Roseman Gannon in third position, 1 second ahead of Nicole Frame. That turn hurt Nicole Frame.
Yeah, Nicole Frame, she will be kicking herself. She missed the left-hand turn into the finish. She had to turn herself right around, and I estimate it cost her somewhere upwards of 8 seconds, and that is really costly because there goes that podium position. But they'll be sprinting head-to-head tomorrow, just 1 second between them. Nicole Frame was third at the Zip Track Intermediate Sprint and Snapper Point today. She's got a turn of speed, so that battle not over yet.
Laura Luxford in fifth, Neve Bradbury sixth, Carly Taylor seventh, Lizzie Stannard, Holly Harris and then Matilda Reynolds in 10th position. Pretty hard to pick the ride of the day until we got to the bottom of the climb, but that performance by Sarah Gigante, once again, she has shone the light on herself with her international level world-class performance.
Yes, well, I thought Alana Forster might have been dabbling for this ride of the day, but you can't go past the magnificence of Sarah Gigante.
Yeah, you'd have to admit it was always going to be whoever won the stage ride of the day. The first time we've seen Wollonga Hill in a Tour Down Under women. This time it's the Santos Festival of Cycling, and by my expectations, it's here to stay. What a stage. But this ride by Sarah Gigante, as soon as she saw the sign start of the QOM, she said, I am the Queen, this is my moment. And she also, like she said, looking forward to uploading her race information and seeing how she's gone on Strava and compares to Richie Port, the King of Wollonga. But there is a new Queen.
The one thing we haven't learnt about Sarah Gigante throughout this last couple of days of racing is what she like tactically. She hasn't needed to be. She's just been so much stronger than everybody else, so she hasn't been challenged tactically.
Does that come back to bite her as she gains more experience going forward? Because sometimes she's not testing those tactical executions, or is she just happy that she's got the big engine?
You just got to be happy you've got the big engine. The bigger the engine, the more mistakes you can make and get away with it. But as time goes on, she will be tested. She'll learn lessons. She'll make mistakes. But we also know she is a 99.9 percentile student. She aced everything in high school. She's the smartest person in the state. I'm sure she's going to learn very quickly from any mistake she does make in future. But again, with an engine that big, she's got the goods to correct mistakes out on the road as well. I think she's here to stay, and we're going to enjoy her feats for a long time to come.
Let's get down to Kimberly Conti, who I'm sure is pretty happy with how things unfold for the first time up Wollonga Hill.
Well, Kimberly Conti, the women's race director, the first time up Wollonga Hill, and we've seen Sarah Gigante win the first Queen of the Mountain here at Wollonga. Are we seeing something spectacular in this athlete?
Absolutely. Sarah is amazing, and that's just an understatement. To watch her progress over the last couple of years, we knew she was strong a couple of years ago when she took out the national championship, and watching her since then and before then racing. But to see her today just bide her time and wait and then go and see the attacks behind her trying to stay with her, I'm pretty sure that Carly Taylor's Strava record may not be standing any longer, but so exciting to see Sarah do so well.
Is she setting a new benchmark, do you think, for women's cycling in Australia at the moment?
Absolutely she is. In fact, all the way up the climb, her director sportif in the United States was texting me saying they were watching from overseas and how excited that they were and how strong she is as an athlete.
And this was a really powerful stage. It was short, sharp, sweet, 48.8 kilometres. Did you enjoy it yourself?
Absolutely loved it. You know, they were on fire from the beginning. We were above our average speed, so we knew that they were ready to race. And then just to see the fireworks as they started going up that climb, really, really happy.
And just the end of the third stage, how are you feeling personally? We've got one more to go at Victoria Park, the Criterium. How are you feeling now with everything that's happened in 2020?
Oh, so relieved. I mean, just to be able to pull this off and have such great support from our sponsors like Santos, and then, of course, our stakeholders, SA Health and the police. We could never do that without them, and our volunteers and staff. It's good to have this one over the line now.
Thanks, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Well, the other thing that Sarah Gigante is doing is she's winning more and more fans. And young Molly back in Melbourne, she's now got split loyalties. I've just had a message from her mum. Molly, I think, is about 8 years of age. And to this point, she has been Amanda Spratt's biggest fan. And now she's on board with Sarah Gigante as well. I think it's okay to support both, yeah?
Of course it is. It's okay. They're both total champions. Get on board.
How good is it, though, to be able to be a youngster today and have such wonderful, strong women to look up to? And I think Sarah Gigante and Amanda Spratt can certainly be very proud of that.
Yeah, role models on the bike and also off the bike. Tomorrow, we've already heard Sarah Gigante talk about her team for tomorrow around Victoria Park and the Criterium, and telling everybody else that you should be nervous. We've got a super strong team. They do. Let's take a look at what confronts them tomorrow for the fourth and final stage. It's Trek Stage 4, Victoria Park. 1.1 kilometres each lap. It's 1 hour worth of racing plus 1 lap. This is your sort of territory, Robbie McEwen.
This is a stage that the sprinters have certainly been looking forward to. Even other stages touted as sprint stages have been a lot harder. Well, this one is completely flat. It is really fast, a perfect road surface. A lot of the local riders will know this extremely well. A lot of club racing happens here in front of the old grandstand, where Stuart O'Grady has his cafe as well, race director of the men's race. But it is super flat, super fast. No really difficult corners as well, all pretty high speed. Brakes not really needed so much. We'll have the Zip Track intermediate sprints as well, so we'll be battling for more bonus seconds. But I do expect it to come down to a sprint, and our track riders from the team of Sarah Gigante, the Garmin Australia national team, they'll really find something that they will love. But there's plenty of other track riders out there too, and some very good sprinters like Matilda Reynolds, for example. Last chance to get a stage win here at the Women's Santos Festival of Cycling.
And even though Victoria Park looks flat and inviting, tomorrow we're expecting 41 degrees and an east-northeasterly breeze between 20 and 30 kilometres, so that could shake things up.
And I think that plays into the hands of Team Garmin Australia because of the team pursuit experience and the horsepower that they will have. They'll protect Sarah, but then they'll try and win the stage. Probably the biggest challenge they have is, who do we lead out in the sprints? They've got so many options.
Oh, they've got Ashley Ann Kudinoff, they've got Annette Edmondson, just to name a few. Alex Manley also could be in the mix for Team Bike Exchange, Grace Brown.
Georgia Baker, who won the bunch sprint behind yesterday.
This is Nicole Frayne with the pink helmet on from Sydney Uni Staminate. These two have ridden together in the e-racing Australian national team. They've raced against each other a lot on the e-platform as well. Sarah Gigante is just having the conversation about exactly what happened.
Nicole Frayne explaining, I missed the turn. I saw the car go through and had to spin myself around and do a sprint to the line. So that was very costly for her, and she's now in fourth place overall, 1 second behind Ruby Roseman Gannon. So that'll be a sprint battle for Roseman Gannon for the points, but also to defend her podium place. It's going to be an interesting final stage around Victoria Park as far as that goes.
Ruby has proven herself to be just that little bit quicker. I also noticed in the background there, Carly Taylor, who put in a strong performance, and today she's been dethroned as the Queen of Wollonga with the Strava record, surely.
And I don't think she's going to be too upset about that, to lose it to such a great rider and ride from Sarah Gigante.
It was a big year in 2020 for Sarah Gigante. The anticipation was that she'd be going over to the United States to ride with her Tipco team. She ended up doing 13,000 kilometres outside, 14,000 kilometres inside, and she's done lots of laps around the podium. She did it yesterday, and she's about to do it again today. Here are the presentations.
For Be Safe, Be Seen, Stage 3 of the 2021 Santos Festival of Cycling Women's Race. And now it's time to present the Be Safe, Be Seen, Stage 3 winner. And the winner is Sarah Gigante, Team Garmin Australia. Congratulations to our Be Safe, Be Seen Stage 3 winner, Sarah Gigante. Now, the winner of the SouthAustralia.com Most Competitive Rider. She's an individual entry with no team support. Let's congratulate Alana Forster, Vikings Riding Club. Well, congratulations, and Alana, what a spectacular accolade to achieve on this Be Safe, Be Seen stage. Now for the winner of the Focus Young Rider jersey, Sarah Gigante, Team Garmin Australia. Oh, well done and congratulations, Sarah. Interflora, the flower experts, are the people behind the beautiful bouquets of flowers being presented to our winners here today. And now, to continue today's presentation, we're joined on stage by Zip Track's marketing manager, Laura Osario. Please come out on stage, Laura. We're presenting the Zip Track Sprint jersey. And the winner is Sarah Gigante, Team Garmin Australia. How quick does she get the wardrobe change done? What an amazing rider. And amazing at the wardrobe. Thank you, Laura. Congratulations again to Sarah. Please welcome onto the stage now Rob Harris from Shimano Events Management Team to present the Shimano Queen of the Mountain jersey. Come on out, Rob. And now for the Shimano Queen of the Mountain jersey. Let's hear a big round of applause for Sarah Gigante, Team Garmin Australia. Absolutely sensational. Big thank you to Rob from Shimano and a big congratulations again to Sarah Gigante. Is there anything that this girl cannot do out here at the Santos Festival of Cycling? And now we move through to the coveted Santos Leaders jersey. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present the winner, Sarah Gigante, Team Garmin Australia. Oh, Sarah, this is your time to shine. Get forward on the stage and give everyone an opportunity to take a...
Sarah Gigante in the blue jersey. She has extended her advantage in the overall standings, and once again she is all smiles. But there was something different in the presentation today. Anna, we saw Alana Forster collecting the most combative prize.
Yes, we talked about her as we picked our ride of the day. It's great to see one of the few individual riders out there being rewarded for her move.
The overall standings, dominant position for Sarah Gigante. 3:11 is her lead, but the big battle, Robbie, for third place, Ruby Roseman Gannon and Nicole Frayne separated by just 1 second.
A costly wrong turn for Nicole Frayne atop the climb just before the finish, but she's not without a chance to get herself on the podium. Tomorrow there's bonus seconds on offer, but she'll have to beat the very fast Ruby Roseman Gannon to get herself up to third.
Laura Luxford in fifth, then Neve Bradbury, Carly Taylor, Elizabeth Stannard, Holly Harris and Matilda Reynolds holding on to a spot inside the top 10. It was a great day of racing for the women. The men are still to come a little bit later on this afternoon, and we'll see if anybody can get the better of Richie Porte. It will be intriguing to see in the men's race what role Richie plays. Does he race for himself, or does he support his teammate Luke Plapp, who won yesterday?
Well, yesterday Richie played the domestique role. He was riding on the front of the peloton, chasing the break with Chris Harper, and then it was his teammate Luke Plapp who went over the top of Fox Creek, went solo and won. But what I saw with Richie is he also made that front group after the top of the climb. He's starting to come good. Maybe we can expect something from him this afternoon.
All the action kicks off on 7+ at 12:50 local time in Adelaide. 20 past 1 in the Eastern States Daylight Savings Time. An hour before that if you're in Queensland. And then those of you over in the West, it's 20 past 10. And in Tasmania, you tune in at 1:20 to see the King of Wollonga in action once again. Richie Porte, he is still to come. The blue leaders jersey will be sitting on the shoulders of Luke Durbridge. Tomorrow with one stage, Trek Stage 4, tomorrow for the women. And it will be Sarah Gigante with pretty much an unassailable lead. Then later on tonight at 6 o'clock local time, Robbie will be joined by Kimberly Conti for Talking Tour. And I'm looking forward to having Steele von Hoff on as a guest, and we're also going to catch up with the very entertaining Jessica Allen. So that's it, 6 o'clock. Join us then for a whole lot more. Still enjoying cycling at the Santos Festival of Cycling. See you soon.